Everything is green. Still looking good. A couple more seconds. Okay, the meeting is yours, Mr. Dolan. Let me know if you need anything.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the special meeting of the Lyon Township Board of Trustees, Wednesday, November 18th, 2020. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
and to
and to the republic
for which
which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, could we do a roll call, please?
Yes, we sure can. I'm looking for my pen. Okay. Patty Carconi
Here.
in Lyon Township.
Oh, in Lyon Township. You're in Lyon Township. Sorry.
Michelle Cass, yes, president in Lyon Township. John Dolan,
Present, Lyon Township.
Lisa Blades,
Present in Lyon Township.
Christopher Enlow,
Present in Lyon Township.
John Hicks,
Present in Lyon Township.
and Sean O'Neill, who is on his way, I believe.
Yes, 15 minutes.
Okay, so I've got
Okay,
him.
thank you. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. I don't think there's any deletions or additions.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll support. John Hicks.
Okay.
By roll.
Let's start with Lisa Blades,
Yes.
Christopher Enlow,
Yes.
John Dolan,
Yes.
John Hicks,
Yes.
Patty Carcone,
Yes.
Michelle Cash, yes, and then no Sean. Okay.
Okay, thank you. We have an agenda.
Mhm.
Move on to the call to the public. Times when someone from the public would like to talk about non-agenda related items. Ken, anyone out there?
We have no public on the line at this time, Mr. Dolan.
Give them a couple seconds here just for the, and then we'll move on.
Is Jim Runstead's representative on the agenda?
You know, I wonder if this is where, would Linda like to talk here?
It would, yes.
Okay.
Okay, Linda.
Okay, I have to press my video button here, I think. Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much for having me today at the meeting. Senator Runstead would have enjoyed being here, but he had a time conflict. But I am here today for a very particular purpose, and that being to honor a gentleman who cannot seem to stay away from service. He is one of your outgoing trustees, John Hicks, and I'm very, very honored to be here. I have a tribute for him that Patricia Carcone has, and I don't know if you have it and can hold it up so he can see it.
I can. It's right here.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Sorry we couldn't be there to present it in person, John, but anyway, we're here to honor you and just all you've done. As I look over all of the information on the tribute about what you have presented to society and your community over the years, I'm amazed. It looks to me like you've accomplished as much as maybe 3 people could have done in a lifetime already. And yet, I know that we're all going to be looking for more from you. This is just, you're leaving one step and going on to the next, right?
Something like that.
So just some of the highlights of our tribute to John discusses his move to Lyon Township. And I believe you've been a member of Lyon, I'm sorry, in the community of Lyon Township for, is it 27 years now? Is that
32.
correct? 32? 32 years. And when you moved to Lyon Township, immediately became involved in the community. I understand you've been involved in kite festivals, many chamber events, business ribbon cuttings. You're the president, or the first president of your homeowners association. You serve on ad hoc committees in the township, and as well as trustee. And I understand that you're a graduate of the nearby Detroit Catholic Central, go Shamrocks, and
true.
that you worked for General Motors for many, many years. And also that you did us the great service of serving our country, which I very much appreciate. And that you have many grandchildren, and your wife Lorraine, and hopefully you'll be spending more time with her now. And I just wanted to thank you for all of that, and just for being a leader. You know, you're obviously a born leader. It seems like it's drawn to you. So I thank you very much for all you've done for Lyon Township, and just for our community and the surrounding area as a whole. And I'm very, very honored to be here today to present the tribute to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a good thing we don't have the all 7 pictures on the screen. My head wouldn't fit.
Well,
Well,
you deserve everything you get, John. You've been a wonderful resident of the township. You've been a great board member all the years. You've been a great planning commission member. You've done so much. You can't say enough in this short a time. We're going to miss you. And don't
it's
go
hard.
away.
It really is
Don't
hard to
go away.
cover it all in just a couple paragraphs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Best of luck to you. And I hope that you will stay in touch with us. I hope we can exchange information, because I know that you just have a wealth of it, and you're bound to be able to help our office out sometime as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. We're not going to let him get away. Not this easy.
Just send the senator a letter yesterday, an email.
Okay, we'll be looking for that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Linda. Thanks for all that. Thank the senator also.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
does
you.
anyone else like to say anything to call to the public? Anybody else out there, Ken?
I just wanted to wrap that up, Mr. Dillon. We see no hands raised at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and
Best of
move on
luck.
to the next agenda item, which is a public hearing. If we could, for the record, Patty, could you just explain this for
Yes.
the public, please?
Yes. This is the miscellaneous general purpose role. And what we do this every year. And it is for the delinquencies that occur in the township, mostly sewer and water. It can be demolition, it can be mowing, and it could be anything else that the township deems. But this mostly is water and sewer and some lawn mowing this year. And so this public hearing lists the people that are delinquent over $300, and this will give us the opportunity to roll it on their taxes. So that's what that is. And then if you want me to just explain, we started out at approximately $184,000, and we are down to 131,000, almost 132. So with a few more promising to pay before I roll it on the taxes. So, but they are everybody that's over $300 is on the list. So we should be in proper form and under the ordinance.
That's great, and thanks for explaining that.
Mhm.
Everyone understands it here, I know. So I am going to open the public hearing. It's 3:10. And for anyone in the public that would like to comment on the special assessment role for general purposes. Ken?
There are no members of the public online at this time, Mr. Dillon.
Okay, let's give it just a second. Okay, seeing nobody has chose to comment, I want to close the public hearing at 3:11. And let's move on to the special assessment resolution. Somebody like to make a motion for that resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-23, special assessment resolution confirming the general purpose role, which is 20-120 and 20-130.
I
I'll
will
support that.
Oh, John can support. Yep.
We have a motion and support. Could you please call this by roll?
I sure can. Christopher Enlow,
Yes.
John Hicks,
Yes,
Michelle Cash, yes. John Dolan,
Yes.
Lisa Blades,
Yes.
Patty Carconi.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our next item here, which is our budget workshop discussion. And we've talked about the first budget we want to work on. It'd be the building department fund. And if we all put that in front of us, basically, I'd like to kind of go over these as a question only, other than going through these line by line. I would like I know we've all had a chance to take a look at them. And if there's any items in there that any of us can answer for you, please feel free to ask the question about any of the line items in the building department. And we can go however you want. Go ahead,
I
Michelle.
just have one that I realized because I finally got to look at them yesterday.
Yep.
There are two funds that I think we need to add a line item to, or if you would just look at it and maybe tell me if you don't want to add the line item. They're in all the other budgets besides building and wait a second. It was building and DDA. It's probably DDA. So the two, the one line item is item number 835.00, which is insurance. And we've had them in all the other budgets, but I don't know how it got missed on this. So maybe if we can just go ahead and put that in there, otherwise it can just go under miscellaneous expense and we'll just know to make sure we put it there if we don't want to add the line item. I think all the other budgets have insurance. That one just does not. So I think Tina and I usually just look for a spot to put it, but if that's the board's choice to add it, since we have insurance for our properties that are owned by the DDA, that would be great. So if we can add that in, that was just my only catch yesterday with a few other little just items that I know we can reconcile. So
I don't see a problem adding them line items. I mean, I'd like to detail these budgets as best we can. So
Okay.
it takes out any errors as far as what is this for, what is that for? And so I don't think if anyone has any problem with that, please talk up, but I think adding them line items are an easy one.
okay. Yeah, that was the only two things I could really see missing out of anything. I know Raina and I had a discussion about stormwater, but we'll get to that when we get to the general fund. She really feels like we should have a stormwater line item in the general fund also. And she gave me where she thought it should go. So we can talk about that later. So building department would need that, and so would DDA. So that's all I saw on that one. So that was my input.
Anyone have any objections to that? I don't think. Okay.
aye.
Okay. Well, let's go on. Lisa, you want to start? Go ahead. And is there any questions that you may have about this budget?
No, I had a good conversation with Patty yesterday, and she explained there were some differences between what we had initially and the amended one today. So I appreciate that. All my questions were really just the line items.
Perfect.
Was it like the Patty Jenkinson switch from one to the next? There were personnel issues, but those are all fixed, and I really don't. I don't have any concerns in the building department.
Okay.
Looks good.
Perfect. Chris? Is there anything that you'd like to talk about in the building?
No, and it was probably the same stuff that Lisa just mentioned that I talked through with Patty and you, just
Okay.
clarification on some line items, but really it was pretty clean.
Thank you. John, anything?
Nope, I have not a thing.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think the three of us have already seen it several times, so we're in good shape.
Yeah. I just want to thank Chris and Lisa and Michelle and John, just because they did a great job, and we spent several several hours and they had the best questions, and it gave me an opportunity to talk to them, and they made some great suggestions that I think they'll bring up in some of the other funds to talk about. So thank you, you guys. It was wonderful, and this makes it work out much better. So I think so we don't spend so much time.
Yeah.
Guys were awesome.
Okay, well, let's move on. We put the building department behind us. Let's move on to things. Let's move on to the sewer budget. How about that? That's a
Yeah.
pretty good one that we can go ahead and take a look at. If everyone would like to, go ahead and pull up the sewer budgets and let's walk through that a little bit and see if there's any questions. And anyone can start. I mean, if you have a question, please, go ahead and speak up.
John, I just wanted to point out that I am incredibly pleased to see that Melanie has been placed in the sewer and water department full-time. Based on that, with seeing her with the administrative assistant, I think that was the category name. But I really appreciate how much she's stepped up and taken over that, all the billing. So get that lady in office herself, and let's switch over to the front to get somebody in the front desk to answer some phones and let her get some more work done.
I agree with that, Lise. Melanie is by far an awesome employee. We have several here, but she really stands out.
And then I guess the only
Yeah,
other
He does.
She does. Yep.
The only other comment really was more about, I think it's all going to kind of fall into place once we have the building addition and we have the room that you guys keep saying that we need and we know we need.
Definitely.
The assistant position, I think, is a good addition to the budget. And if we have the wherewithal to pay for it, I think it's a good move. And I think that's about it.
Perfect, Lise. Thank you for the comments. Chris, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just appreciate that we've got a lot of the capital improvement projects in there. Some of the things that people on our sewer system don't realize is just the ongoing process of putting up backup generators at the pump stations so that when the power does go out, which fortunately happens quite a bit out here, that the pump stations can still run. So that's great that we're continuing to add those in there. And just the continuing maintenance and upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant as well. So that's
You can see
some
we
of
are
those things
doing
that
there.
just, yeah, that people don't realize that we're still kind of doing in the background. And then also putting in a line item for emergency sewer connections as well. So that's always good because, we actually had to use it this past year to help out some residents. So
Yeah, that's been a big one. Well, that's great. Thank you, Chris. John, anything that you'd like to say about the sewer budget? Other than it stinks? I had to do it.
No, I have no other comment.
Got that.
You're okay with it, John?
Yes, I am.
Okay, anyone else like to comment at all on it before we move to the next budget? Great, man, you guys are making us feel good. Okay, let's move on to the water budget. This is a great budget, and this water budget is definitely in great shape. It looks good. We put a lot of things to move forward on this 2021. And again, we want to open this for comment. If anyone has anything they see they'd like to add, or if there's anything they'd like to talk about, please go ahead and let's talk about it.
Could I just ask one thing of the board, and this is where we're going to discuss it, and I'm bummed I didn't get to work as much with Patty and John as I thought, but Melanie, we were talking about, man, did she step up and take the phones home during COVID and all kinds of stuff. So can we bump her up to a 5% raise, or is that going to be way too much? I mean, I did the math, it's $940.
I think we should.
So it's up to the board if they want to look at that or not, but man, she stepped it up.
You know what, Michelle?
She really did a bunch.
Hey, Melanie, would you jump off the line? Your head's going to get too big. You shouldn't be listening to this. But I do want to say, Melanie is an awesome employee and she's worked so hard. I would stand behind anything we did for Melanie just because she is so multitasking. She wears every hat in this building. She jumps into elections. She works from morning till night. She jumps into billings. She actually takes and goes out and meters all the water meters she does it all. And then she comes back here and she puts it all in envelopes and she folds everything and she prints everything and never
No, I mean, a
complains.
lot of these people during COVID really stepped up. So I know we were giving a nice little bump to everybody because we could, but there are a couple that really, I think, deserve just a little bit more than everybody else because they were here doing it. You know, they stuck it out. They're like, no, we're not going to stay home. We need to come in. We need to help, you know, and we needed the help. So I'm just like thankful for all of them.
And one of the things that really, you said it, Michelle, that really stood out, was when COVID hit, Melanie actually found out how to bring the phones, like you said, to her house. We didn't ask her to do that.
Yep.
But she said, look, if you get this little device that was like a $50 device, I can take this to my house and plug this into the line and I can answer the phones as if we were there. And I said, really? You're going to do that? She goes, well, yeah. And she did that. She answered the phones at her home the whole time this building was shut down from COVID.
Yeah.
Nobody asked her to do that. I just want to make sure that everyone knows. No one asked her to do that. She did it on her own.
Yeah.
So she is she's a great employee for the town.
Yeah.
Well,
We have
I
a lot
would-
of them.
I would be supportive of bumping that up to 5% instead of the 3%. And, you know, I've said this in previous years, 3% when you're making, you know, 70, 80, $90,000 is a significant bump to a salary. 3% when you're making half of that is not much at all. And I'd like to kind of nudge some of our people who have dedicated their time to working for our township. If they're on the lower end of that salary scale, just if it means instead of 3%, it's 4% or 5%, to bring them up into line of what the industry standard would have as far as a pay scale. I'm very comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we can talk about that as it comes time, but everyone seems to be agreeable to
Okay.
pump up a little bit here and there. Okay. Any other questions about the sewer? Okay.
Water. Yeah.
Or water. I'm still in the
No, I
state.
have no issue with the Melanie as well. So like I said, you know, you got to take care of the people that run the township. So the salaries and stuff have never, you know, I defer to you guys on what's appropriate, and it seems like we are doing a good job at taking care of people. And I guess the water budget, we are looking at then painting the water tower this year. Looks like we've got that in there.
Yeah, we moved that over from last year. That didn't get done last year.
Okay.
So there will be a zero balance in the expenditures for last year, but we'd like to get that done. So that's why it's moved.
Okay, and then the foundation for the new water tower, I believe John Hicks had mentioned.
Yep. And it is in there.
Yep, looks like, okay, I see it. It's at the.
Yeah.
So-
Foundation for new water tower, water plant improvements.
Mhm. And we also have an emergency water connection line item in there too, similar to the sewer. So, and I think, I'm not sure, John, you might have put this one in there, but the security fencing for the treatment plants and water tower, that's a
Yes.
really good idea, good addition.
We have to get that done. We have to
Yes.
get that done. So this year, we're really going to have to concentrate on getting both of the treatment plants fenced out. They are complete now, so we do have a footprint for that. So I'd like to get some estimates together and get that moving this year.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Nothing from me.
And the budget is very, very, I mean, we have a very good fund there, so. You can also notice that we have the monies in to extend the water main from Tim Hortons up into the backside of, I think it's Woodside subdivision there.
Mhm.
So we do have that monies in for this year, and, you know, if other things pop up also, if other things pop up that become priorities, we can always bring these back to the board and talk about it. If something happens during the year.
Okay.
Okay, John, anything?
I had my say earlier
Okay,
to Patty. I gave her the,
okay. Okay, hey, Sean. Sean's with us now.
Yay,
Hey, John. Hi,
Sean.
everybody.
How
Okay,
you doing, Sean?
Good. How
326.
are you?
Good. We just finished up, we finished up a couple of the earlier ones before you got here. We went through the building fund. I don't know if you had any questions there.
Yeah, you and I talked about a bunch of stuff, and you answered some
Yeah.
questions for me. So a lot of the questions I had, you
I
answered.
kind of held off the ones that you had questions on
Okay.
until you got here. So
Oh,
we
thanks.
just went through the sewer, the water, and the building. Okay?
Okay.
So now we'll move on to the next one, which, let's go ahead and let's do the DDA. I know Tina's here to answer any questions for the DDA if there's any out there. And please feel free to take a look at it. And if there's any questions that you have, please, let's go ahead and ask them.
I wondered how they won the, or got the $30,000 of interest that I saw.
That's Patty.
I don't think we made that much in the general fund, did we?
That's
Kathy, did
because,
you-
John,
Well,
we had the $16 million, 16 million for the building, for the water treatment that we borrowed. For the expansion.
But they made interest, it says, of $30,000.
You're talking about the water enterprise?
No, the
No,
DDA.
no,
Oh, where's,
DDA,
hang on, I'm sorry.
interest income.
Give me a kiss. I just muted it.
I hope they did. I'm just wondering where it came from.
I don't, okay, I'm in the DDA. We're in the DDA, right?
yeah, we've got a projected income for interest of 30,000 for 2021.
Okay, well, they already made 20.
Yep. I think John's
It happened-
question is, do you think we'll get 30,000?
Well, we
No,
we can
but-
adjust it. We can take it down.
Oh, I just wondered.
Melanie can do it.
It
Make
seemed
it
like a
20.
lot.
Melanie, make it 20.
Which line item?
Interest income,
So
665.001.
All right,
That's being conservative, so that's a good
Yeah,
thing.
that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay, John, any other questions? As you
I
look down through
Do
there?
not have any other questions. No.
Those are good eyes.
Okay, Lisa, any questions for the DDA?
Yes, I had a question regarding the line item. I've got to get to the right screen now. For the administrative assistant, the 703.003. I just have a question about that.
Okay,
And is that, I mean, we keep hearing we have no room and we're kind of pushing things down until we have the expansion done. I'm wondering about that as an expense. And then a line item 729.000, the cell phone, is that a new phone for $1,000? Or is that the phone plus the plan? And I see, I have one more question. So I guess those two were quick, I guess.
okay,
Do you want me to answer that, John?
sure, go ahead, Tina.
Yeah, we
So,
didn't do
yeah.
your budget.
So we've had a position for a part-time employee or an additional person here, but we did have the limitations with the availability of office space. And the benefit we've had over the past few years is that John Bell has been serving as a volunteer in that role, and he did have an office here. So now that he's retired from his volunteerism, even though we are still waiting for the expansion, we do have an open office here in our DDA area that we could fill for that position. And definitely is something that's needed. The amount of hours that I'm putting in, especially dealing with our businesses in response to COVID, has just been a real challenge. And so it would be really nice to be able to bring someone else on board to help out. And then that ties back then to the line item 729 is I'm budgeting if we need that person to have a cell phone. If they can use their own cell phone, like John Bell had been doing, then it would just be a stipend. That would be an amount that would be given. Or if we felt we needed to issue a cell phone, then we would have some money set aside for that as well.
Is it our standard practice to issue a cell phone to every employee? John, Patty, Michelle?
And we don't.
No, just no, the department heads.
We don't, but because I believe that the position pays pretty low, I think that was one, just an attractive kind of thing to get someone in here. I mean, if you look at a $20,000 income, it's just kind of low. But I'm talking for Tina. So Tina, you can.
But that's part-time. That's going to be an hourly wage person. You don't want to have to be paying that person benefits. You wouldn't give them a cell phone. I wouldn't give them a cell phone.
Yeah, I don't think you're giving them a cell phone.
And we didn't with John. It was more, he was using his phone, and because he spent some time out in the field, and that's part of what the DDA job is about, is we don't always sit at our desk. We're out doing festivals, events, we're talking with folks out in the field, we're making deliveries. So he would often use his cell phone in order to accomplish some of the work that was done. And that's why we had a stipend set aside of X amount of dollars, I think it's $40 per month. We didn't pay his cell phone, we just gave a portion of payment towards it.
I guess I just, I'm not comfortable with $1,000 in that line item, and then with the potential for a phone to be used for a part-time employee. I mean, my school district, I'm a full-time employee. I use my phone, I use my personal computer, I use all of my other equipment to do my job. And I would not want to get into the habit of using paying for a cell phone for a part-time position. And then before I would feel comfortable with having an administrative assistant position, I'd like to see a job description. I mean, some of the jobs that we've talked about with Michelle, we've seen job descriptions. We haven't been able to fill it yet, but we've had some pretty substantial conversations about the need for it, and just different positions all along. Same thing with Melanie. So to approve having an administrative assistant position without a job description, or really an analysis of the number of hours that and the job expectations, I'm not really comfortable with that. And then I guess
we do have a job description, so I can provide that.
Okay. So if I could see that before we approve a budget. And then the last comment that I have for DDA, it's line item 882, the promotion and marketing budget, which has doubled. And I guess I just keep looking at all these massive expenses that we're going to have in the DDA with drains and all of these other infrastructure issues that I'm not really, I know marketing and promotion is important, but doubling that budget item. And I just see that it's infrastructure is a little bit more of a focus right now.
Well, I do think I understand your point. I do think it is important to recognize that the DDA does not just focus on infrastructure, that our program of work involves work with economic restructuring, promotions, and also any type of development that needs to be done on our vision plans. There's a lot of other type of expenses that are involved In fact, some DDAs don't have any infrastructure type of improvements like we do to the level here at our community. But promotions has been very key. In fact, the DDA just did assign $15,000 extra this year to our budget so that we could address the immediate needs of promoting our downtown and ensuring that our businesses survived this pandemic. So we feel that because of this pandemic and its continuing effect on the economy, that we would definitely need to have some additional money set aside for next year.
And Tina, if you could let them in on some of the things, I mean, what you've got a big program going for the downtown that you're basically using some of that money for now.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first thing that we ended up doing, and this is not just on a whim, we did conduct 2 business surveys of our business community to get their input on what their immediate needs were. And marketing by far in both of those surveys were rated very high as in assistance, because so many of our businesses are struggling financially, just making payroll or paying their rent, that they just don't have those types of funds available. And we definitely want these businesses to survive. The last thing we want to do, considering that we have such a high occupancy rate right now, is to see some of these businesses start to fail, and then we end up having empty storefronts. So we've been investing in an overall campaign, the comprehensive campaign for Love Your Lion, Show Your Love for Lion. It has been received very well in the community. We believe that it is generating foot traffic with our Shop Local and Dine Local efforts. We did invest in $10,000 that we spent on the feather flags and additional yard signs that are located throughout the community. We made it very careful decision to make those messages very generic so that we could bring them out and use them in the future. But it was not something that we had planned for at the beginning of the year. And so we were talking earlier about reimbursements from the county for any type of expenses that were submitted because of COVID-19. And we believe that we'll be able to get that money back because it was spent due to the pandemic. So we've been investing in those types of things. That was a big chunk of money. We also have another important holiday event that's coming up. We had planned to do a downtown event that was going to require the closure of the roads, and we were looking to bring hundreds of people into the downtown the second Saturday in December, and that had to all be canceled. So what we've done instead is we'll be creating a festive environment in our downtown to encourage families and people to come down and check out our holiday displays that we're investing in. And with that, then folks can come and say, oh, we walk through the Wonderland that we're creating in front of the church with inflatables and just making it really decorative to bring people down, but not all at one time. They can come on a regular basis without having to worry about any type of social distancing and issues like that. And then hopefully when they're down there, we'll encourage this, of course, but we'd like for them to then stop by the winery and pick up maybe a gift basket or decide to do a carry out from the New Hudson Inn. So some of those things are what we've been working on. And I've been working on it through the DDA Promotions Committee. Our Promotions Committee itself has increased by 12 people. We've had a lot of business owners wanting to be a part of this decision and wanting to get involved. And then, of course, I'm also working with the task force with South Line and the Chamber on a lot of these projects. But that's why we've been focused on promotions primarily this year.
I guess I just want one final statement. I definitely understand promotions and marketing. I definitely understand that concept. My point is that I did not mean to imply that I wanted to eliminate that line item. I just see that doubling promotion and marketing when we have drains to fix, I'm not really supportive of that.
Well, and I think it is important to note that that line item for $10,000 under the 2020 amended, that actually should be $25,000 because back in March, we did add $15,000 to that budget. So it would be $25,000 for this year, and we're looking to set aside $20,000 for 2020 or 2021. So it's not in essence doubling this year. It is doubling.
Still
from
not,
what we
I'm
paid-
still not in favor of the $20,000 amount until we really focus in on the drains.
Okay. All right. Well, I have a little different take. I am in favor of it. And the only reason I am is because I know what it does for the business downtown. I know we have drains to clean and I think we have money to do that. And we're starting to set some money aside. If you notice, we have a culvert repair. We've got some things where we're starting to fix the drains. But I still think we have to keep focus on the DDA as a promotional as much as an infrastructural board. So, but I mean, and that's just two different opinions. But Chris, would you like to speak? Or are you done, Lisa? If you have anything out, are you done on
Yeah,
that?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, Chris, do you want to put any mention in at all? And do you have anything about the DDA, please?
No, I had sent Tina just my comments earlier, and she responded and explained a lot of this stuff. I guess again, with the administrative assistant position, I think that's something that we do have to review as a board and make a decision from there. It's fine to keep it in the budget. We have a lot of positions just budget wide that we have that are open that we haven't filled. So I guess it's a budget, so we have it as an available option if we decide we want to move forward with it. In terms of like the other questions I had, I think everything was pretty much answered. I had just some general questions about lawn mowing and snow removal within the DDA and how that gets split up amongst DDA properties and township properties. So it looks like it got adjusted. One of the capital improvement line item question I had involved just what the project was. I believe confirmed that it was the culvert replacement at Milford Road and the New Hudson Drain. So I think that's one of the drain projects that talked about. I guess it sounds like there might be some potential to get some grant funding to cover a portion of it. I know in the capital improvements plan, I think we had it around 600,000 or 400,000. It was somewhere in that range. So as long as we've got that budgeted for, I think that's probably one that we want to try and do in the near term.
I think it's also, I know, Lisa, you brought up the drain clean out, and I do want to make one point, and that is the New Hudson Drain does run from basically its terminus point up at Grand River to the, I guess you would say, the far east of the Wallbridge property. And then it travels down and then ends up down out by the Deer Creek area as we enter into Livingston County. And it's really important to note that for DDA monies, DDA TIF monies can only be spent within the boundary areas of the DDA. So a couple of years ago, we did pay for a clean out of the drain that went from Helene Street to the Milford Road culvert. And we are working with Wallbridge to get them to cover some of the clean out costs that runs along their properties, both to the east and the west of South Hill Road. And then we're looking at then the areas north up into Grand River. But anything from the Milford Road culvert to the west is outside of the DDA. So DDA monies cannot be spent to clean the drain from that point all the way to Livingston County. So I just wanted to kind of make it clear the boundary map that we can spend that money in order to help with the clean out of the drain.
I understand the boundary map. I mean, maybe we should focus in on getting some sidewalks then within the DDA. I just
and we are looking at that, like with the culvert replacement. Leslie's going to be doing some design work on it, but we are intending to make sure that when that culvert gets replaced, there will be an area on the east and west side of it that will include the sidewalk. So the culvert replacement will be made wide enough to accommodate a sidewalk on both sides of the culvert. And then we can fill in some gaps as we move north and south of that culvert to make those sidewalk connections. And that's why this culvert replacement is not just a replacement to improve the flow of water for the drain, but we're also taking into consideration additional areas that we can improve our sidewalk connectivity as well.
Okay. Chris, anything else?
No, I mean, there is a lot of infrastructure that probably has to get done over the next few years, but if we can tackle, the culvert at Milford Road, that's great. I know a lot of the other businesses in the area, in order for them to expand, they need to do stormwater management. So the talk of a regional basin and stuff was talked about, but that's future stuff. But I'm glad, that
Got to put it in.
we got to pick them off one at a time, right?
Yeah,
Keep putting
one
in
at a
positive
time, you're
papers.
right. Why we continually get the fund balance up in the DDA so we can do the bigger projects is cleaning the drains and maybe the ring road and things like that. I mean, that's our goal. So, Sean, you want to add anything?
I was actually going to ask about which culvert that was. I figured it was Milford Road, but I know there was a whole backstory on that from when it was originally installed and how it wasn't installed properly, and it was not our fault. So while I don't want to talk about it now, I look forward to future discussions to, I guess with the Water Resource Commission and the Road Commissioner regarding what our actual level of responsibility should be, given that it was not our fault that it doesn't function. But obviously, like a lot of the other things in here, it's a line item that we set money aside for. It doesn't mean we're going to spend it. So my hope is that it does not cost us that kind of money, because we shouldn't be fixing other people's problems. But that's for another day and another discussion.
Thank you. John, anything to add?
I'd like to congratulate the DDA because their marketing idea has got them some awards, and one I believe is countywide. I can't remember the name, the specific name, but it doesn't go unnoticed. That's pretty much all I got to say.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's no other talk, Michelle, Patty, anybody want to add?
Well, I know, real quick, if the lawn mowing and then the snow removal, I see I must have journaled entered lawn maintenance. So are we just going to keep all of that under the general fund going forward then, probably? Is that what we should do?
Well,
I know we were trying to, have our employees do it, which is great. But then, we've got the cleanups in the roundabouts and things like that. So would that all go under the mowing and maintenance, or should we really just maybe there's someplace else, professional services or something, to put the roundabout cleanups under?
Well, I still think we have to share some cost in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Okay.
It doesn't have to be a major amount, but I still think that there has to be some cost there, even though our employees are taking care of a lot of that. And then
We still have a lot of expenses. I mean, our mower repairs, our gas, we're already paying their time, which is fine. So as I was getting the bills in, I was kind of dividing them, but maybe I'm doing that wrong. And maybe you and Patty and I can sit down with Tina and just kind of hash that out. So when we give the budget in December, it'll be really the way it should be. And, there was no monies for lawn maintenance, even though we probably should have had some under there. So we missed that. Or I probably just should have put it under the general fund. But yeah, so maybe if you and Patty and I can kind of hash that out a little bit more in between now and the December 7th meeting, we can have a better number for you guys for that.
Patty, I thought we added that.
We do. We have reimbursement to the township, I'm pretty sure, for I talked it over.
Okay, sorry, I missed that one. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just need,
I talked it over with
in the
Chris
loop
and,
then.
Yeah, no, we talked it out. Well, Chris and Lisa had the same question. I explained to them. It will be a journal entry for their fair share, but we have that in there in the expense.
Okay,
See, we have snow
perfect.
removal and we have lawn and mowing and lawn maintenance.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got 3 of them.
We have it in there.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I see it there. I just see that what I had done was I had put it on the maintenance, the lawn and mowing, and then, you know, nothing under snow removal because our guys do that, you know, on the sidewalks there. But yeah, I could probably figure out what I
Well-
did there with the maintenance. So we'll journal entry that in. Okay, thank you guys. That's all
Michelle,
I had.
Michelle, I had a quick question. Under legal fees 921,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that number might be too high. We do use Carol, but I don't know if we,
Oh, yeah, something
it
happened
looks
there.
like
All
maybe
right.
an extra number might be added in there.
Okay, let me see if that's on me or just a typo, which would also be probably on me. So yes, okay, I will figure that out.
And then the other item is under line item 955 land acquisition.
Mhm.
We haven't done any acquisitions of land this year, so I'm wondering if that amount might have been applied, it should be applied to the website internet contribution.
Okay, we'll look at that website. Okay,
And I think
I don't understand.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
So good
John?
questions. Okay. Any other questions about the DDA?
John, sorry, I should have clarified this earlier, but are you okay if I ask a question after everybody else, or do you want me to wait until the December meeting?
No, you know what? If you don't spend too much time, Robert, I'll let you talk.
No, this is a really brief
I'm
one.
kidding. I'm kidding,
It's probably
Robert.
just a typo as well, but the printing and publishing for the public notices is 500% of what was budgeted, and then it's budgeted for next year at that 1,000 instead of 5,000, and that just seemed weird.
Well, I think what's important to note here, and Michelle, I'm not sure how this is calculated, but those are for tax abatements, and we actually do collect
the money's for it,
yeah,
but
$4,000 bond for that.
Okay,
yep,
makes
you
sense
just
then.
can't see it because we can't put the money back into the expense item. It comes in on the other side.
Yeah.
So it's there, but it has to be expensed there. And then the other side, the revenue takes it out because we have collected the monies for that.
Did it answer you, Robert?
Yep, that was it.
Okay. Okay. You can speak up, Robert. Don't worry about that. We'll let you in. Okay.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions on the DDA before we move on? All right. All them.
I actually think that legal dollar amount might be correct.
You do think so?
Well, we're getting sued. We're getting
Oh, yeah.
sued.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
And-
Yep, you're
and-
right. Yep, those are the new expenses.
Right.
Mhm.
The same,
You are
Michelle,
so
that's
right.
what's on the sheets you gave me, so.
I
Yeah.
think that is correct.
Okay,
Do you, Carol, you think I'm correct? Because it's,
so.
yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. We had divided portion between sewer and here. Yep, gotcha.
Well, it's, yeah, DDA and yeah, because
Yep.
yes. So
Okay.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I think
you're
that
right.
is probably a correct
Okay,
assumption.
yep, I was gonna look it up anyhow, just to see what I did.
Should we then
What was in
adjust,
there?
should we adjust the budget then for 2020? Because we have it just set at 6,000 again.
I say yes. I think we should, yes,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, this
I
is going to
do.
be ongoing for a little while.
right. And that's not a cheap lawsuit. So,
We may need to make a budget amendment anyway as time goes on because we're just making a guess now.
right, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. I might put $50,000 in there if I were
That's what I
a
was,
betting person.
Okay.
So I would make that correction.
Okay,
All right. So that one, let's put that one behind us. I think we're in good shape with that one. Let's go ahead and move on to the police budget.
Defund them.
Oh, no.
Okay,
Okay.
so Les is here to explain his budget. Basically, it looks pretty clean, but we may have a few questions for you, Les. So anyone want to go ahead and open up if they have any questions for Les?
Hit me.
Don, you want to start?
I didn't print the budgets that came out yesterday, but The one I have shows 3 resource officers.
Oh, yeah.
Has that been changed? That's going to be 2 now, right?
Yes, yes. I mentioned that to Patty in email, so she's gonna handle that for
Yeah,
me.
but we don't really know what's gonna happen next year, though, Sean. I mean, we're saying yes, but maybe not. Remember, this is for next year.
So next school
So-
year, September, they might all
Yeah.
be back in school.
Okay.
They
So
may. So
I guess that leads to my next comment was there's a note in here for adding a detective and a deputy. And I guess I wanted to talk more about that. The budget meeting is not the time to do it. I think Chris made a comment earlier. I mean, we're putting people and figures in a budget, so we're planning for it. We're not saying go bring these people on. But I had a bunch of questions for you at a later date regarding, cases or caseload and calls for service, things like that, that we don't have to get into now. I just want to at least make mention that, we may or may not add those 2. I guess we may or may not have 3 SROs. We'll have, we think at least 2. We may have a third. If we have a third, it'll mean things are kind of getting back to normal. So that will be a good thing. So I guess when I look at this is, worst case scenario, we're still, falling, we're still putting $27,000 in the account, in the fund balance at the end of the year. So I think we're in good shape. I just, had that question about the SROs, and then wanted to at a future date before we bring on 2 more people, like in any other situation, make sure we have a discussion about, the need for a detective and a deputy for 2021.
Okay, I'm prepared to discuss it whenever we're ready to have those conversations. So,
Okay. And like I said, I don't want to, bombard you with questions right now. It's just the budget these are placeholder numbers. I'm comfortable with leaving it in here and just
Okay.
talk about it. We can talk about it in the coming weeks or month or whatever.
Perfect.
I guess I was going to ask you if you were to decide to move forward with it, when would you be wanting to move ahead with the request for 2 more people?
Well, I think, at the new year would be an opportune time because we have more than enough work for 1 detective. And so the second one would definitely help to resolve those issues. And I've been working with the personnel that I have to get the job done now. And it's just results in, moving people from different shifts to get them trained and to get them familiar to help out with the detective. But ultimately, it would be ideal to have someone in that position permanently.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I know the state changed the way they do, and I won't get too much into it, but the state, they send us all kind of referrals, right? And it used to happen, and they're related to adult protective services and child protective services. We used to only get 1 or 2 per month, but about 8 to 10 months ago, they changed the way that they do things. So we get any kind of an allegation involving, a child, we get those. So we went from 1 or 2 a month to maybe 4 or 5 per week, and those go straight to the detective to follow up on, which results care house interviews that take 5-6 hours each time.
Sure, and plenty of follow-up, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then I'll make sure in the next couple of weeks, I get in touch with you just to follow up with you on the questions. Not that it's my decision. I mean, it's the whole board's decision, but I just to at least bounce some questions off you and have a discussion, offline. But
Okay.
That's the only thing I had. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Anyone else like to talk to Les about his budget? Please.
Yeah, I emailed Les and he got back with me on a couple of questions, but it was mainly what Sean had mentioned was just the personnel differences and making sure that's tightened up in the budget. Even if it is, what's been presented, I mean, it's fine. And that actually had the 3rd SRO in there. So no issues with the bottom line or anything, but it was just trying to get all that tightened up, and with the unknowns of how the schools are, and the amount of use the SROs are going to get, it's
can I just have a quick minute? Melanie just got kicked out of the Zoom meeting. So wherever Ken is.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not sure what happened. I'll look forward to log
Okay.
back in.
Okay.
Certainly, if she's watching on YouTube, if she's having problems with
I'll
her
tell her.
computer, she can also call in over a regular telephone. That may work better for her if that.
Well, she's got she's working on our budget. She's correcting, but I just told her to try to log back in.
Yeah, again, I think she had mentioned earlier in the meeting that she was using another computer to work on the budget. So if she is having problems with computer A logging in this meeting.
She said she's trying. Sorry, I was sorry to interrupt, but
sure. I was just going to suggest maybe she could log in on the phone as the meeting point, and then computer B, she could still work on the budget stuff. So we'll see.
Okay,
We'll
let's
see what we
call
can.
it
We got
two.
some options for her.
Okay, I'm telling her to log in on the phone.
Okay. So anyone else have any questions, Lise?
No, I don't have any real questions. I think that Sean brought up a good point to have just a better understanding of, like, do we have gaps to our coverage? Do we, knowing that there are these additional reports, that's really helpful in making that decision. So before we bring on someone, an additional detective and an additional deputy, just not having an understanding of, does this align with what other communities have that are of similar size? And, like, honestly, just maybe a review letter of some sort to just outline some of those basic things. But as far as public safety is concerned, I'm very comfortable with keeping that line item in there. Just having a little explanation as to what is the difference between this year and next year that would call for a new detective and a new deputy. And I think you should get the gold star because you're under budget. So
He already has a gold star. He wears it every day at work.
God, Sean.
No,
I
I
do try to
think
be mindful
you guys all make a really good point, because we have always brought into the table the necessity of why we want to add an employee or someone in the sheriff's department or any of the other departments. And usually you have some reason and some, asking the board why you needed an explanation. And so Sean and Lisa are 100% right. Les should bring his case to the board. Not that we don't want to, but we've always done that. And that way we get to see numbers, why, what position, and the rest of us will do the same when we either want to add employees or anything else. So it's an excellent point, and I agree 100%. So good to you guys. And Chris mentioned it to me also when we were when we talked. So that's all. Make your case.
I will.
Anybody
If I
else
can
want to-
interrupt for just a moment, it looks like we do have Melanie back on the line. Melanie, can you hear and see us?
Yep, I'm unfrozen now.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Good.
Okay. Sounds great. All right. That sounds like we've got the police budget in order. Let's go ahead and move on to the fire. Let's go ahead and pull that up. Okay, this one's a little more intense. I'm going to go ahead and take it over to Chief. And Chief, you want to go ahead and talk about this a little bit before we start discussing?
Before Ken does, can I just interrupt 1 second to tell the board about one thing in the income?
Go ahead, Patty.
So I promised everybody I would look into the cost recovery and the EMS transport revenue. I mentioned it to Ken and Lisa and Chris and John and Michelle. I just didn't get a chance to talk to
That's right.
Sean about it, but we looked into it, and we're going to leave it as just the 20,000. And what is happening is we get some of it comes in directly into our bank account through the company that Ken uses, and some of it comes in as a check for people that we bill, Ken bills, and some people are making payments towards that. So we just prefer, because it's too difficult and we only have one bank account for those two categories, we would just like to mesh it together. I don't think it should be a problem. Michelle or I or somebody can always print out detail if you need that, but we don't want to open up another bank account for one of those. So that's why it's like that. So maybe we can either take one of those numbers out and it just would be cost recovery EMS. Unless it's something we really have to track separate.
No, and I can always contact Acumed, who does our billing, and get an annual statement or, semi-annual statement. So we know exactly what's EMS.
Yeah, it's just, it's again, we set that one bank account up that they can deposit into. And I would have to just either put it in the general fund, same thing. It's just a little difficult to track. So I hope that's okay. So that I'm going to leave that because I told everybody I'd check into that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Ken, you want to go ahead and,
Yeah, no gold star for me, I'm afraid. But I would like to thank the entire board and all the men and women of Lyon Township Fire for their commitment in this year, especially during the whole COVID-19 pandemic, and the overall commitment in general, and your support throughout the whole thing. When we look at what's going on now, I feel that the department needs to restructure to maintain our service to the public. So it'll still maintain operational readiness, and we'll also look at the long-term needs that include succession planning and retention and recruitment in the future operations of the department. So obviously our concern still remains the citizens and businesses of Lyon Township. And with that, in November, we switched to a 3-platoon system that will ensure around-the-clock coverage from a minimum of 2 to 3 firefighters per day, excluding vacations and personal days. In 21, I think we need to focus more on the people, and beyond that, then we'll start focusing on the other needs such as apparatus and equipment. So the full-time firefighters and officers will demand most of the personnel budget, which is largely unknown. As you know, they have formed a union with the IAFF, and the township will be negotiating wages and benefits into 2021. I've also spoken to most of you about our current staffing issues, and which includes some resignations as of December 1st. And that's going to be a issue that's going to present a challenge, but we have to deal with it. So I've spoken with most of you about it, and that's where I'll leave it for now. And I'm always available to talk about that as well. So anyway, this just adds to some of our staffing issues as well. And otherwise, I'll just focus on a few of the line items that have been slightly and leave the others that have been slightly increased, decreased, or neutral. But I'll try and answer questions on any line item. Now, do you want me to stop there, or do you want me to
well,
highlight?
let's just stop there and let's see if there's any questions on the lines from the board. So we'll go ahead and start and opening up the questions. Everybody's had a chance to look it over. And Chris, you want to start out? You got any questions at all that you'd like to?
Well, I talked to Ken yesterday on it
Okay.
to just get clarification on the personnel expenses, the basically 707.0 all the way to 6. So on how those interact and how those come about. So because it was a little confusing with the comments, like the first expense, the fire department salaries, that's the paid on call or district firefighters, not the full timers, which are then listed further down on the line item. So that was my main kind of concern on that. And this budget in particular is probably the one I'm least confident on, just based on the amount of unknowns. So it's really, I don't know, it's really hard to figure out where we're at depending on union negotiations. And as I mentioned to Ken, this is my first experience with any type of union through a municipality. So it's all kind of new to me. But based on that, I guess, the budget itself is in the red, but there is still some balance there. So I guess, I don't know. I'm just basically, this is the one that's the hardest for me to wrap my head around and to try and get it whole. And I think this needs to wait until those salary negotiations come to fruition.
No, I think you're right, Chris. I think that we're kind of in a gray area, not knowing how the contract is going to shake out. So I think that's where we're going to have a little problem here. But Sean, you want to add anything? Or
that was really my only comment. We're kind of in a little bit of a limbo until we get some clarity on the union contract and those negotiations. So we have a rough idea on the budget, but we really can't be precise.
Yeah, it's our best guess. John?
that I agree with what they've said so far. Nothing much we can do. Nothing I can do.
Okay. Lise?
I had a chance to talk with Ken and he stated it today as well, just, some of this is in this gray area, as we've called it, with the salaries, and then, the fire department salaries, just to double check, Ken, 707.000, that's the paid on call line item, correct?
That's correct. Paid on call, including district.
Okay, and so I think part of what, Ken has talked about is that budget is kind of that's moving all the time, depending on all calls and that type of thing. You can't really anticipate how many structure fires you're gonna have and how many guys are gonna show up for something like that. So that poses a little bit of a difficulty, but then also just with the contract negotiations, I think that we need all to just kind of, not that I'm ever comfortable with such a gray area, but there's nothing we can really do at this point to kind of deal with that. So normally, under normal circumstances, I would not be comfortable with that, but I completely understand at this point. I do have one question that I had forgotten to ask you earlier with the assistant chief item at 78,000. If that is the route that you're going with restructuring, could you provide us with what is the job description for that, or what is the breakdown? Is that 78 grand plus, or does that include benefits? What do other communities in the area, what would they have, or just a little bit more of an understanding of that, just to kind of educate me a bit more. And then really just, I would agree that as much as we would like some new capital improvement items, that or personnel is really the more important item right now. But I would still like to keep pushing to get the equipment that would be nice to have, but definitely as long as, do you feel like the items that you have in here, that you have the equipment that you need in order for the safety of the firefighters?
I do. Yeah, I think we've been very fortunate the last few years, as far as funding equipment and getting state-of-the-art equipment and being able to maintain it, as importantly, that I feel we're in a good spot. And this basically is just kind of a one-year suspension. It doesn't mean we're, going out with bald tires or things like that. We're still going to take care of what needs to get taken care of. But the looking at an engine or a ladder, believe me, I want them bad. But if, with the unknowns, and just so you know, I tried, I believe, to go on the high side of where I think things could go with negotiations. But again, that's not absolute. So yeah, I feel we're still going to, we still have a maintenance and repair line items. We still have, money in there for fire equipment if things are needed. But really the focus is making sure that we have people to operate any equipment that we have, and, best protect the community that way. And then I think we get back on track, hopefully. And next year, there are going to be more absolutes. We're going to have a contract with the union, and we're going to know what they're going to cost. And that gives us a lot more than what I have right now. And, then we get focused back on what our needs are. So we don't pile up those needs all in 1 year of, apparatus, vehicles, things like that.
Ken, I have a quick question. Do you think leaving the budget the way it was for 2020 for 2021 is a better idea, given that we don't want to hurt our position in negotiating with the full-time firefighters, rather than anticipating and estimating on the high side and having a big number, which would potentially lead someone to believe that that's something we're just willing to pay off the bat before we really get into? I mean, I don't want to necessarily dive into all of this right now, but would it make sense to leave the line items that are yet to be negotiated just status quo rolling into 2021?
For the most part, I would say yes. I guess the biggest thing, though, is the void that we're having with administration, and that adding the assistant chief, I think, would be something that could right the ship real quick, as far as, paid on call recruitment, And, there was a meeting that he had with pay on call firefighters today about, what can be done. And so most everything else, I would say I could leave status quo, but the, for everything that and Lisa, to your point, I do have the assistant job description. I can forward that to everyone. But I guess that's kind of my, the only caveat I'm looking at, other than, if it stayed the same as 20, that would be the only thing I would ask.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any questions for Chief about this going forward with the predicament we're in?
No, I mean, I guess the only other thing I had, and I forgot to mention about the apparatus equipment and stuff, is I know when we went through the capital improvements plan, there's quite a bit that was coming up in the next couple of years, the 2 brush trucks, engine 2 replacement, and, our dream to get a ladder truck for the businesses along Grand River. So, we may have to do a little bit of creative financing for some of these and look at, other avenues to get these going. But, again, like Ken said, and I think Sean said too, it's the people that put out the fires, not the equipment. So you can have the nicest piece of equipment, but no one's there to operate it. It doesn't matter. So.
Yeah, if it doesn't leave the garage, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I think that we're kind of at a standstill till we get through this negotiation. And I think that's going to really clear up the waters once we get through that. And then I think we can have better talks about what we can do. But I do agree, we need the personnel. I mean, we have to get through that. Okay, well, if there's no more questions for Chief, we're going to consider that one closed up, and we'll move on to the big one, the general fund. In the general fund, we basically have went over this over and over and over and over again, trying to make sure we have everything right. And as much as you go over these things and think you have everything right, there's always something that isn't right. So that's why we count on the trustees to give us 4 more eyes on this thing, because we have looked at this thing over and over. We think it's in really good shape, but we're going to open it up for suggestions or comments or your thoughts on the general fund. And that being said, being that it's such a large fund, I hope we have notes and we can go to certain items. If you guys would like to talk, please go ahead and we'll open it up for a conversation here. And I don't care. I don't want to be grabbing people out of order here. Whoever wants to talk about it, go ahead and start.
Well, why don't we just ask, is there any questions on the income? Because I did all 99% of the income. And I know, again, I spoke to Chris and Lisa at length, and we got to talk about a lot of things, and I got to explain some things to them. So does anybody else have any questions on the income? And then maybe we could just move down the line if they have, go through sections.
Well, I think basically the questions are incomes.
I thought I did a pretty good job.
I think the whole thing is done really well. And so that's what I'm saying. I'd like to just move on to questions instead of line by line. I'd like to. Anybody have any questions about the fund? Go ahead and let's start talking. And that's income or the fund or anything. Please open it up. Lisa, why don't you go first? You want to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So I had included in the comments that I sent to John and Patty and Michelle. I didn't send them to you because I knew you.
Okay. Thanks.
So, I had talked to Carol about this maybe about a week ago, or I had emailed her. I don't know that it would have an impact on our budget, but I just wanted to make sure. We have all this money that has been set aside at the 11 Mile Park. We can't use it unless it's for the 11 Mile Park. And so my question is, at some point, can we have a discussion where we take a look at all of the contributors to the 11 Mile Park and then reach out to them, ask them if they would be willing to amend their PD? And again, I know that's not something we would really talk about now, but if if that process were to take place, would that affect our budget in any way? Like, would that add to planning? Would that add to our legal? So that was my first question.
Well, and as far as the 11 Mile Park Fund, I'm really lost at that question because it was earmarked for that park. We haven't really said we're not going to build that park. We've kind of sit back and we're trying to figure out drainage, and if the drainage was fixed, would we put the park there? I don't know. So I don't know if Carol, do you know? I mean, is there any way? I mean, it's earmarked money, and who would be the authority to say we can move that once we took that money with the idea we were building the park from the developers who contributed? How do you go about removing that and using it for something else? I don't know who has that authority.
Well, right now, it was a condition of the approvals, and they contributed for that specific fund. So you can't take it and just arbitrarily move it somewhere else. You could certainly approach the people that have contributed. I mean, once the board discussed it as a whole as to what other project they might want to use that money for, you could certainly approach everyone who had contributed and say, would you be agreeable to shifting that money over here instead? Then we would deal with, I mean, it seems to me that doing formal PD amendments for all those projects, that's a little overkill for dealing with this situation. But we'd sort of have to take it step by step. If you still think you may possibly want to do the park, I guess you'd leave it sitting there. If you don't, then maybe some future discussions on where would you want to use that money with the eye to still using it for something that would be a general public benefit, like the park would have been. And then if you make some decisions, we'll take it one by one, how to work that through then.
So for today's discussion, then, would we, if all of that were to take place, is that something that we would have to budget for, or would that just kind of fall under some kind of legal and planning budget item?
That would just, with respect to what I would do or what Brian would do, it would just be during the normal course of our, our work with you. So I don't know that you would budget something specifically for us. I think right now, to the extent that the money is there, you've got to leave it in as an 11-mile improvement unless something changes this year.
Okay, then I just wanted to make sure that if we were supposed to be putting money aside for something like that, if that's the path that the board wanted to go, that we did it now. But if it doesn't, if it would be just your regular workload, then I don't think we need to really have more discussion on that today. So then I guess my next couple of questions deal with, let's see. Again, thank you, Patty, because you explained a lot of things to me as to, the actual percentage columns and the money transfers and that type of thing. So it cleared up quite a bit. And we talked about the media job. I think that if we continue, we've talked about it for years. I think if we keep that in the line as the line item, I'm comfortable with that. And definitely once we have the addition complete, and we can, let's see, we can have more of a job description, decide whether they're full-time, part-time. And let's see what else. Michelle, I was wondering too, and I didn't get a chance to talk with you about it. I know somebody come in, the person who was responsible for cleaning up the cemeteries did a fantastic job. It was a little bit after Memorial Day, I think. And I mean, it was a huge improvement. I was really impressed with that. But do you think that we could add a little bit of money to the cemetery fund, not just for maintenance and improvements, but like some real improvements in the sense of tree trimming, but not just, a little bit here, a little bit there, but really clearing it out and dedicate a more sizable chunk to improvements as opposed to just kind of maintaining. But again, like whoever we hired has done an immensely better than in previous years.
Yep, that was thanks to Patty found them. So we got a good cemetery cleanup there. And yeah, all I would do twice a year would really be the spring and winter or fall cleanups to help for the next year. We have monies in repair and maintenance because that's our guy, Dave, who goes through and patches stones. And if anybody's hit anything on that tight driveway, he seems to always have to do that. But yeah, it's up to the board if you guys want more money in. And we did lose a few big trees this past spring. And there were some volunteers that went in and cut that down. And then Richard and John went and did a bigger cleanup of the base of the trees. So we did have to spend some extra money on trees this time and getting them down because they were hanging and or they, thank goodness, didn't become a widowmaker of someone visiting the cemetery. So yeah, it would be nice to have someone go through and say, hey, these trees really need to be removed before they hurt someone. So if you guys are willing to do that, I can get that done. But yeah, it's up to the board. Gladly.
Do you have a rough idea of what something like that would cost?
I don't. So I don't know if John and I could just get a bid to bid that out and get a few places that, let's say, they come in and they look at trees, and then going forward, we would know what our amounts would be and that we've got the best, price for that time. I mean, I'm willing to do that.
John, do you have an idea?
Oh, I think it's a good idea. I think we could put more money in there. I would like to clean that up. We could get some estimates for that. What kind of money do you think that you'd feel comfortable adding to that?
Because I know to remove a tree, it's very expensive, and some of those trees in there are really big. So maybe we gotta get a quote for you first and see.
I can tell you based on a lot of trees that I've had removed from my yard, and I don't know how many you're talking about, but you're talking, how many trees do you think need to come down?
I really don't know. I haven't had a chance to go out there and walk it, but we can do that now.
You're talking thousands of dollars, okay? You're probably talking $3,000, $5,000, something like that.
Yeah, and
the trees have any size to start taking them down and then trimming the others up and stuff. It's very expensive.
Yeah, and in your backyard, you can just chop it down or cut it down. In a cemetery, you got to take it down in pieces because you can't let it destroy everything.
Right.
On the stones, yeah.
I know that like the one that was at that we have at Chubb and 9 it's pretty I think that needs a big clean out and trim, and I think that would be a little bit trickier. So I'm not even talking so much the new Hudson Cemetery seems to not be quite a problem as much as the older one at 9 and Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
And it's expensive, but the nice thing is once you do it, it's done.
Well, that's the problem we have in the new Hudson Cemetery right now. We have a huge stump that's probably about 5 foot tall. It's a good 4 foot around, and it has metal fence posts in it. And it's an eyesore in there. And I'm not really sure how we're going to get that out. And that's going to be expensive. Just that alone is going to cost big money.
I don't really have a price that I would want to put in the budget. So if somebody wants to, you and Michelle and Patty and John and probably Carol have a better understanding of a cost.
Here's the good thing. Here's the good thing, Lisa, is we do have money in the budget for things like this. We still have a very good bottom line, and these are placeholders. So if we went ahead and said, okay, let's put a $20,000 mark in there, okay, instead of 5. Let's say we put a miscellaneous expense of 20. Okay. That I think we could get most everything done in all of them for that one-time expense. And I don't think it costs 20. So any money that were saved, they would just go forward. You know what I mean? To the next budget.
Then yeah, if you feel like 20 would be a good starting point, or at least something to work with, then if we could do that, I would really be appreciative.
Well, I think that would be super helpful. And if it come out to where it was going to be an extreme amount more, we just have to come back and say that wouldn't do it. We may have to do an amendment sometime during the year if we really wanted to clean them up.
Or do a few each year. Whatever the costs are. And if we can get someone that we know their price can stay the same for us, especially if there's a big storm and then we need to call somebody after the fact. It would just be nice to have somebody like that on on call if we needed to.
Does everyone agree with, we could throw a 20,000 in that miscellaneous and use that for
Yep.
cleanup? Okay.
Well, you'd have to bid it out anyway. So
Yep.
even
Yep.
if we go over budget, we just do a budget amendment.
We'll have to come back.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead, Melanie. We'll change that miscellaneous on the cemetery to 20.
Right, I did that.
Okay. Okay, Lisa, keep going.
Lisa, you're muted.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Just, we've talked about new hires, the bookkeeper and elections coordinator, and certainly all of that's something that we can't really address right now until we have the addition complete. So I don't know if when we have a date necessarily that we're looking at, but I still think that it's important to always keep that on, keep that in mind. And then I noticed that we have the full-time planner. And I just had a question if there was a proposed date for posting that. And then I think the only other thought was, if we should have an increase to our maintenance person. I know we have full-time and part-time, but just an increase in maintenance for sidewalk pathway inspection. That's something that we should be looking at too, as well.
Okay. Let's see. So halfway
say-
inspections, I think it's probably going to fall on probably me this year. So I think we can cover that. I think I can go around the first part of the year and we'll just take a good look at everything and see where we assess it. But I agree with you. I think having these placeholders in there gives us the option to do it anytime during the year if we find it feasible to do it. So I think that's why they're in there. If it comes up as a situation where we need somebody, we'll have the money in the budget. I mean, we'll always go to the board about it, but at least we have the money budgeted for it when it becomes time. And that's what I think most of these, like the media person and things like that, we all want that. And that's why we continually, move them forward to the 2021 budget. But it gives us the opportunity to do it anytime during the year if it becomes where we need it. And that's the only reason we do that. But anything else you'd like to talk about? I mean, did you want us to raise any of them columns? Because I mean, we can do that.
I think the only column that I'd like to see an increase in would be for the parks and to, in trying to create some additional activities and distancing and that type of thing. I've seen some communities doing some drive-in movies, and if the park advisory board would still entertain movies in the park, we could do something with one of those transmitters where you could use it more of a drive-in and having any kind of additional costs with having maybe contract with somebody to do the setup and takedown. So I'd like to see a little bit more.
Okay, now that being said, Lisa, if you look down into where I have the ice rink on there, if you notice, I added in the mowing and the maintenance, also a removal of the ice rink, and that kind of covers. I put a $30,000 addition in there for things exactly like what you're talking about. If it comes down to where Robert and I get this figured out with this ice rink for next year, the ice rink is one expense, but we're also going to have to expend to maintain it, take it in and out during the year. And that 30,000 that I put into that extra line was basically for that, kind of taking care of things. Now, if you want to make that more, if you think that we need to add a little more to that, maybe to do some different things in the park. I mean, I don't know.
I wasn't too concerned about having it as more than that. I just, to know that we could, if it's not being used for the ice rink, that we could use it for something else, then I'm comfortable with that amount.
Okay. That's kind of why I put that in there. I thought that was a decent amount. It's a guess. Okay, is there any other things that you would want to add anything to, or does everything else look good for you, or? Okay, let's move. Anyone else like to start then? I think Lisa's tied up. She's done with that and,
Yeah, that concludes my comments.
oh, thanks. Thanks, Lisa. I didn't know. Chris, you want to go
Sure,
ahead?
I can run down pretty quick. Maybe
Okay.
just a few bullets that I wanted to just express. Again, the media person, whether it's part-time or full-time, same situation. Just, we do a job description if we want to do it. It's great. I think it's a good idea. It's been in the budget for a few years now. So, and it's mainly because why I like that position is, I don't think we do a whole lot of self-promoting as a township. We do a lot of good things, and a lot of that stuff doesn't get out there. So having, a part-time or full-time media person, I think would definitely help communicate with the public and just let people know that we're doing some good things here. The next one is kind of something we probably want to talk about at some point in the future, the new website and the alert system, which the alert system has never worked for, at least on my phone as a Verizon customer. So that whole thing's really bugged me over the past year or two. And maybe we talk about that at a different meeting, but I don't know. It just, seeing it in the budget again, it just annoys me that we're paying for a service and we're not getting everything they said we were getting. But I'll leave it at that, and we can talk about that not at this meeting. The items under the streets, I kind of highlighted 3 different items on there. One, the traffic signal at Kent Lake and Silver Lake Road. John, you and I talked about that, and we'll continue to help you out and continue to follow up with the road commission. I know you've been doing it the same. We have that moving forward, hopefully soon. The Chubb Road paving, that's finished up, and I think we have we have $200,000 left in the budget for next year. We've expressed some concerns about the final workmanship on that, and there's a few items outstanding. So I'm fine with that remaining money in the budget, but I think we do have to take care of that as well. And then the Martindale Road paving, the half-mile gravel segment that I believe we're splitting with the potential developer there. And John, I think you had mentioned as part of that the road commission was kicking in additional monies for that.
Yeah, I think that's that's, what was that, 350,000 that
Yeah, I
they,
think that sounds right.
yeah.
So it's not just on the township dollar, it's the road commission is paying in the
Yeah,
developer.
they said 350. They didn't do percentages. They just said 350 to throw in.
And then the other functions category, I like that we've put in $200,000 for sidewalk connections. I know we've looked at the Pontiac Trail and Marjorie And area as a potential cost share with the city of South Lyon, and having that line item in there, and we kind of talked about that in conjunction with the capital improvements plan, just having kind of a generic line item to fill in some of these gaps around the township. It's awesome, and I think that's going to be a good benefit, especially get people outside exercising and walking around. Takes the cars off the road too, so that helps as well. And I saw also a line item for the Novi Lion Drain clean out. I know we've had a proposal by the 11 Mile Park on that, and I know Leslie's working with that engineer to kind of get that finalized. And again, that kind of ties into what Trustee Blades said on the 11 Mile Park and how we get that developed. So And second to last, we do have the land acquisition line item in there as part of the purchase of development rights ordinance update that I know Brian's working on to come back to planning commission at some point. We do have, I know last year when we talked about it, I think we stuck $40,000 in there. I'd like that again increase to maybe 150,000, which is consistent with like the DDA property acquisition number. Again, this is one of those that if it's in there, great, but I don't know if it'll ever get used. But if we can at least keep that in there like we did over this past year, I think that's, at least it shows that we're looking for it. So if that one can be increased, that would be good. And I think the last line I want to talk about was the special projects, and it is Safety Town, which, you know, in talking with Patty, this has been in here for, you know, a few years now, and we got to do it. I think, you know, it's one of those things that I can help. I'm more than willing to help out, but, you know, Patty and I had a little conversation about it, and I think that, you know, let's just do it and see what we can do and get it off the ground, because it's cool. I did check out what I think, Patty, you mentioned Naperville, Illinois has for it, and it's really cool. Again, it's another outdoor activity, and it'd be a nice asset to the community.
Can I respond with
Hey,
Chris and Lisa? Because I talked their ear off about Safety Town.
Can I hit one thing before you do, Patty?
Oh, sure,
Okay,
of course.
just real quick, going back to streets, Chris.
Yeah.
If we go back to streets and you see Curry Road in there and they have $500,000 in there, it is not going to be that much. Basically, they're going to take our tri-party funds, which are the 117,000, and they're gonna front load them for the next few years. So basically, he told me at the outside, if we had to pay everything with no tri-party funds, it would cost around 487,000 out of the township's coffers, and that's to go 2 miles. Okay, they're only going to do 1 mile the first year, so that 500,000 in there is double what it could be. And the other thing is, I think by the time we're all said and done, and we use all the tri-party funds for this project, we'll probably end up paying a total of about $100,000 for this complete 2 miles. Just so you know that's the worst case scenario if all tri-party funds fell apart for both years. So just so you know that, I wanted to I put that in there only as a placeholder. We'll never use it. It will never be that much. Okay. Go ahead, Patty.
Oh, okay. So, you know, I have really wanted to do Safety Town because I think it would really be a good thing for our community. And remember, it's a specialty thing for really preschool kids. And I was fascinated when I saw it at Naperville, and I was really thinking if we could look at I know we had thought about it next to the fire station, but I would really think that, and I was hoping maybe we could use some of the 11 Mile Park for Safety Town, if that's possible, or we would want to do that if we brought a proposal to the board and Carol thought we could use any of it or ask the developers. But I was thinking if we could use it over by our property off of Milford Road and build a very small, its own little like schoolroom. And if you look at the one at Naperville, it's kind of long and narrow, but they have bathrooms and a classroom, and then it directly goes right out to the fenced in Safety Town area. And that way we could use that for a lot of things, a lot of things for the kids. And I know Naperville uses it for trick or treating. And there's really no parking at the fire station. I mean, there's no parking. So we're going to add a venue there, but maybe that could be our public safety property over there, where we could call it public safety, public safety town for our public safety area. And maybe there would be other things over there. Maybe our DPW eventually. And it just seems like that would all go together. So again, it's something that I would love to see. And I talked to Chris and Lisa because they asked me about it. And I said, oh, la, la, la. You know, I always have a lot to say about Safety Town. But I was really thinking about that property because we have some area and we need parking, and there really is no parking by the fire station. And maybe the fire station should use the Safety Town property to increase parking for them and their classes. Or they could always use that room, that school room over there, for something different. You know, if it was classrooms, training, or, you know, we could use it for a lot of things. Like, say we have the planning commissioners, they, you know, Brian and Carol, they're setting up a class to educate them again and go over some things. We could just go to that little, you know, our little house, or whatever you want to call it, and have the class there. It's something I think we need. And I was just thinking about that property, and we kind of do have a lot of money for the 11-mile park, and maybe we don't want to take it from there, but it's a thought. And I just think it's a really good thing, and we should really work on it because I'd like to see it. So,
I think
that's
if
my thought.
we're building schoolhouses, we better put more than 10,000 in there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but if we could use some of the park money, I mean, the developers gave us some good money for that park, and but maybe you don't want to take it from there. It's just a thought. It's a suggestion. I don't know how much it would cost to build a very small building. I mean, you know, we don't need 2 stories, but a nice area with classroom, maybe a little mini kitchen, and maybe 2 bathrooms. So I don't know. Pretty cool. Look up Naperville Safety Town and look at it do a Google map, and you can see, looking down at it, it's pretty cool.
Well, that's something for talk. I mean, we've had it in the budget for years. Since I was a trustee, I think we've had it in there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, we have a growing community with small children, and it would be nice even if, you know, if we can include, I actually took a tour of it when I went there, and they actually, you know, they really did a good job of thinking things. Like, they have a little small playground area up at the front next to the building. So say, you know, you have 2 children, you have one that's going to attend to Safety Town because they're 4 years old, but you also have maybe a toddler or a 2-year-old, and you could take them right outside and let them play on the playground while your other child is having Safety Town. And they have picnic tables, and you can, you know, bring your lunch. And it was really nice. And they rent it out for birthday parties too. And I don't know, they do trick-or-treating, they do the Easter bunny there. You know, we could have Santa there. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could do, but we got to have parking, and there is no parking at the fire station. So I kind of would really like to think about using our property. So
okay.
Just my thoughts.
Okay, well, getting back to Chris, I don't have a problem putting 150 in the acquisition. I just don't. So I don't know how everyone else feels about that, but
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it.
so Mel, go ahead and add that to our budget there.
Land acquisition, 955, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, so Department 850, Mel?
Yep.
955.00, okay.
It's done.
Okay. All right. Is that good for you, Chris?
Yes, unless we need more in Safety Town.
Yeah.
So that you mentioned that.
I would like
We're
that.
gonna need 150 in there.
I would like that.
I mean, I don't know. Looking at what Naperville did, it was pretty intense. So maybe it is more something like 50,000 or something like that to kind of.
Yeah, but how big is Naperville? I mean, we got to.
Yeah, they're big.
A whole other state. Who knows?
I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be as grand as theirs, but I like that it has its own little classroom. I think it's really good. We're talking about safety. I think that's really good in safety for the kids. And it just gives us another building that we could also use for meeting rooms and other things that we want to do.
You know, we do have a flat roof on the new addition. You can put it up there.
on the top.
I don't think their big wheels might go off. besides. So do you think we
Okay.
could add some money in there? So maybe I can get somebody to start working on it,
Okay.
like me?
What do you want to put in there?
You want to do 50? Was that what we thought, or if you
That was
don't spend it, you don't
yeah.
spend it.
Yeah.
Well, we could
That's
start
fine.
with 50 to see. What do you think, Sean?
That sounds fine. I mean, have we asked any of our neighboring communities if they want to go in on this with us? I mean, if we
Well,
find property for it and they're using it too for their programming, I mean, maybe there's a way to regionalize this thing a little bit.
Good.
Well, it's
Yep.
still 50 is a good start.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's put 50.
50 in Safety Town, Mel.
It's done. And kind of a side note for Sean, even if the surrounding communities won't go in on the cost of building it, we can rent it out to them for them to be able to use for their own safety town.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So does that bound you up there, Chris? You good?
Yep, that's good for me. That's all I had.
Okay. John, you got anything you want to add?
Well, I've always liked the idea of the safety town. The South, I don't know what the rec authority, if they're would be involved or get involved, they'd certainly want to use it. But
Mhm.
I'm in favor of it though.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea.
So we've added that. So how about anything else? Anything else stick out at you? Nothing? Okay. Sean, your turn, buddy.
So I had a quick question for Patty on Heroes or CARES Act revenue, not revenue, but money that we
Yeah.
get in. Where will that be accounted?
Well, I didn't know. I didn't want to put it in there because, I mean, they're saying we're going to get it. And that's, matter of fact, I'm working on that with Raina on Friday.
And me.
Yeah. Oh, and well, and yeah. And Tina too, and John.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all doing that. So we're going to be applying for the 422,000, but what happens if we don't get it and we put it in our budget?
Yeah, and I
So,
mean,
I don't care what you guys want to do about where you, if you want to put it in. We got the 180 already too for the sheriff's department, and the county has been telling us that maybe we don't want to put the 180 for the other part of the sheriff's department because they're applying for that for the state again. And so we might want to try to just get the 422 without it, but if we have to use it to get to the 422, we will. So, I mean, it's up to the board. I didn't put it in there for a reason because I hate to put something in there and then we don't get it, but it seems like we're going to get it, but.
yeah, and I just didn't see the 180 shown anywhere for.
Well,
this
we got
year.
it in this year. We got it in this year.
Okay.
It won't be
this is for-
going forward. Mhm. It's not
Yeah,
in
so-
2021.
So they're saying we may get that 180. I mean, I've been on 3 Zoom calls with them, with the county,
Yeah.
and they're guiding us as we go along. Plus, once we submit it, that's why we want to do it now. I just needed to wait till after the election because I need Michelle. And in the last Zoom meeting we were on, they suggested maybe not to put the 180 in for the sheriff's department, that could be coming. So you kind of don't want to use up your money if they're going to give it to you anyways.
And
So I didn't put the 180 in either because we're not sure if we're going to get it or not.
Okay. And I
I
mean,
guess it's like applying for we're applying and we're hoping, but just like, we may get it for the trail system if we apply for the grant again next year. I don't want to put it in because we didn't get it last year. We might not get it again. You're hoping or you're thinking, but I don't know. It's totally up to the board. I mean, we can put it in the grants up at the top
yeah,
or 22. I mean, that would make our bottom line look great, but
yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, we're going to get it or we're not. My understanding is that the county got a bunch of money and allocated it pro rata to all the communities. So we should
Right.
get the money. I know you've turned in all the paperwork, so and other communities have already gotten quite a bit of money based, on that pro rata formula. So
Mhm.
I'd be really surprised if we did not.
so why don't we just put it into grants and to our grants and the income.
I mean, you could do it for 2020, it would be counted in 2021.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
we don't
Unless they give us some money now, but
Okay. Well,
it has to be in by December 1st, but we're getting it in. Well, Raina, like I said, Raina's coming Friday, so it might take us, that part in a few days, and then we want to send it off to them because they're looking at everything to making sure that we're complying with what they want to see and our receipts. That's why we need
Okay.
Michelle.
I just
She's
didn't
the
know.
receipt holder.
Okay. I didn't know if we had already gotten it. And if it
No.
was, I didn't
No.
know. Okay.
No. So
and the
you want to put it in for the grants? Because we have a grant column. It says we have state grants, but we could put it in there if we wanted to. The county enhancement revenue that's there is it's different. That's from our IT stuff. That's from our credit cards. So would you want to put it in at state grants? I mean, I can add that.
I mean, I don't
We
know
can
if it needs to get at it or not. I mean, whether we're either going to get it or we won't. So I don't know if we want to count on getting it or just be happy when we do. Well,
Up to you guys.
A big deal.
Yeah, there's grants further down too, Patty. That's a 674, but I see Munetrix is in there.
Yeah, those are
So
like,
that's different. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
those are kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, because we
We
got
could put it
grants
there
in two
too.
spots. Yeah,
We
either
can put
way,
it in there.
other income, whatever. But yeah, just so I don't know.
Well, it's a big number. So
Number. Yeah.
I don't know. Why don't we add it in? They're saying we're gonna get it. So why don't we put it in other grants? Why don't we add we'll put Melon, if you can back that Munetrix off and put CARES grant /
Put both, yeah.
Munetrix and add 422,000 and 1,500 to it.
Okay, the other thing, Patty, is up on the top as our property tax operating millage. That 804 is going to go up another 300,000 when we get that, right? Because in the revenues, in the actual to date, we're at 800.
Oh yeah, we haven't collected our money yet for us.
So you got to look at that too.
Yeah, no, that'll go up, but we got to collect it first.
But I know, but you see that there, Sean, at the top?
Right.
That's going to go up another 300.
He's looking at year to date. You're looking at the year to date.
I was
and
looking at
we're talking about the budget.
No, yeah, I know, but I'm saying the revenue is going to go up there. So it's also going to hit the bottom line for another 300 some thousand.
Which is not reflected currently.
Exactly. That's what
same thing, just an FYI, the DDA, most of their income comes in the winter, not the summer. So their income looks really low because I forget Lisa or Chris or somebody asked me about that. And I said, but most of their revenue comes in the winter tax collection. That's why it looks so low.
Yeah, but I think we added that in. If I look back at the DDA, we've pumped that up. I mean, that in the actual to date has got all the money in it.
Oh.
So, but ours in the general fund does not.
Shouldn't, because we haven't gotten it yet.
It does though.
Okay. So revenues over expenses will be better because of both of those things, both tax collection as well as grants that are anticipated to come in. I thought we had maybe last year or 2 years ago had increased the life insurance for employees from 25,000 to 50,000. We didn't do that.
No, it's at 25.
Okay, we had talked about that. I guess I'd really like to look at that again. I can't imagine it's going to be, it might be a nice benefit that costs very little money to give the employees. I guess for some reason I thought we looked at it. I guess we didn't do it, but I was just going to ask that we take a look at that.
Okay, we can do that.
And then I think we've kind of covered some of the questions on personnel already and some of that discussion. John and I had a conversation and he's answered some questions for me. So other than that, I think everything's in pretty good order. The only thing I'd point out, and this might be for the benefit of the public, and I don't know how many are watching or will watch, but we really have made a commitment over the last many years. This board has and previous boards have toward, traffic improvements, safety improvements, road paving, pathway improvements, pathway extensions. And every single year, there are projects that are completed along those same lines. And I think it's important. And I think this maybe goes back to maybe Chris's comment about getting information out to the public, almost like a state of the township kind of document that at the end of the year is a newsletter or something that they get. I mean, when, someone's doing something in somebody's backyard, everybody's upset and everybody talks about that. But when, a mile of road gets paved, there are people who don't even know that Chubb Road was paved. And so I guess it's like what people focus on is up to them. But there are really a lot of good things. I mean, the trail's been paved, miles of road have been paved, traffic lights have been added. There are, over $2 million worth of road improvements and pathway improvements projected for next year and beyond. It's in the millions of dollars when you consider that other entities or agencies or grants are kicking in to pay for the lion's share of many of these projects, like John, you just mentioned Curry. I mean, that's what, a $5 million project?
Yep.
$6 million project. I mean, none of those road projects come in under budget, and we're going to be on the hook for maybe $200,000 for a 2-mile project that's going to be over $5 million. I mean, that's something that people should know about. That's something that they would be thrilled to know, that $200,000 of their tax-paying dollars are going into a project that's going to actually move traffic and move it more safely and more efficiently. I mean, there's a lot of really great things happening. On the infrastructure side of things, on the public safety side of things. And I'm just, proud to play a small part in that. And, thank you guys and the staff and the planning commission, all the boards and commissions that are involved in this, because there are a lot of great things going on in this community. And I'm certainly proud to live here and look forward to all these things continuing and being a benefit to everybody who calls this place home.
Thank you, Sean. That was nice to say. I mean,
You should write that up, Sean.
I never remember good things like that. I just grunt like a caveman if I was asked to recite what I just said, So somebody's videotaping it, so I can listen to it back. It probably doesn't sound as eloquent after the fact as it felt.
well, I think that wraps a pretty good meeting.
Oh, wait, I got one.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't even ask
That's
you.
okay.
Sorry.
No, because you guys did a really good job. But the one thing I was doing with Raina the other day, she happened to be here and I was able to catch her. And we've talked about it several times. But at budget time, I don't know why I always forget, but stormwater is a big deal for the township. And it's not a huge bill every year, but it did increase this year a little bit because I know we went through and did some of the roundabouts and the ring roads. And, we just never really have a line item for stormwater. So she really said that that's something that we really should dedicate something to. So I'm looking at putting it in the 850 other functions at 958.00. And I don't know, can we put 10,000 in? We probably might only even need 5, but if you want, I can tell you what we've spent this year so far. I've just put it in different spots, mostly because I didn't have a line item.
Well, I think that's a good idea, Michelle. Let's go ahead and put it in. And
Okay.
I see no problem with 10,000. I mean, I think 10,000.
Okay. Well, I know as we get more clean outs and as things happen
We
and the
cleaned a
more
lot of
paved
these
roads, it's just this stormwater that cannot go into the sewer fund, even though it's taken me a while to get that straight in my head. I have to seem to ask every time I get a bill. So if we could do that, that would be great. Stormwater on the general fund, because that's our expense. So
Does anyone have a problem with that? Adding a stormwater line item and a $10,000 amount in there?
No.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I think we're all good with that, Michelle.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
So I added it to the budget already.
You're quick, Mel.
Oh, and didn't you want to talk about your hazardous waste program?
I didn't bring that to talk about that because it's not an agenda item. So.
Okay.
But
all right. Sounds good. We can.
But
add it
I
to
can
the
say
December meeting.
we are working on some hazardous waste things that has been asked, and we've got a pretty good option, and we'll probably end up bringing that into the December board meeting, and we'll talk about it and see if we can move it forward.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
Yay.
Okay. Well, that being said,
So
I
if
think
we can
we're-
adjourn at 5:05 p.m., I do need to call roll call if I can get a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, MCPC. Okay, Sean O'Neill,
I forgot to tell everybody that I was attending this meeting from Lyon Township because I joined late. So I just wanted to get
Oh,
that.
thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Okay, John Hicks,
Yes.
Michelle Cash, yes. John Dolan,
Yes.
Lisa Blades,
Yes.
Patricia Carconi,
Yes.
and Chris Enlow.
Yes, still in Lyon Township.
All right, good deal.
Thank
All
you,
right, thanks
everybody.
guys for a great meeting. Greatly
Thank you, everyone.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right,
Ken.
bye.